Hey everyone, and welcome back to the Sideline Eye podcast. We're looking ahead to the massive clash of Armagh against Kerry in the All Ireland quarter final coming up on Sunday. And I'm delighted to be joined by Sean O'Sullivan, former Kerry footballer, and he's going to help me look ahead to this one. And Sean, I think this is the third time I've had you on the pod now, so you're becoming a bit of a regular.
Yeah. Thanks, Sean, for having me. I suppose the meetings between Kerry and Armagh are becoming a bit more regular, which is a good thing. So yeah, always obliging to come on and give my tuppence worth to you. Obviously, both teams find themselves in very different positions coming into this weekend. Obviously, last year coming into the semi-final, people would have been probably tipping Kerry as the favourites, and Armagh turned them over. The league game this year was, I suppose, 50-50. Nobody really knew what was in store there. And obviously now coming into the quarter final on Sunday, Armagh would be raging hot favourites. So yeah, it's interesting times in both camps, but we're both still there. We're both still alive. So looking forward to a good game on Sunday.
And I know it's talking the offer, Sean, but it's such an exciting weekend just with the games we have in prospect, the rules that have definitely added something to the games this year, and it's knockout now. Like this is the end of the road for four teams this weekend. So as fans watching on, it's so exciting coming up to the build up to this weekend.
Unbelievable, Sean. Yeah, listen, I suppose the one downside to the new structures in terms of the season and the split season is it just goes so fast. It goes so fast. You don't have time to breathe. Players, managements, supporters trying to go from one week to the next to organising, for us anyway, trains, tickets, all that type of stuff. It's exciting, but it's just happening all so fast, you know. But certainly, I mean, this weekend is an absolute bonanza for a Gaelic football supporter in this country. I was telling you off air that a friend of mine messaged me saying he's leaving Kerry on Saturday morning, and he's going to get all four games in. You know, it's just unbelievable. You know, and four quality games ahead of us. With eight very, very good teams. So, yeah, you couldn't be not excited about it, but it's just so quick. As you said, we're going to lose four real top quality teams this weekend. And all of a sudden, before you know it, you're into the semi-finals. So, yeah, enjoy it while we can because it's going quick. But it's been a really, really good championship. And as you said, the new rules has definitely lent itself to that without a doubt.
I was going to ask you that, Sean. Just what have you made of the championship? I think everybody has just loved it, and there's plenty of people saying that this is the best championship in a while. Probably the fact there's no out and out front runner guaranteed All Ireland winner like there sort of was during that them Dublin years. So like the championship, what have you made of it so far? Like it's been brilliant.
Yeah, and I think that's been the best thing about it, Sean, is that it's impossible to call. It's impossible to call. And I know, look, we've got four games in front of us this weekend. And right being right, you could probably pick your four winners, you know, I mean, based on, you know, maybe history or that little bit of form coming into the game. But then on the flip side of that, with the new rules, it's just really hard to call as well because, you know, a team that you would expect to go out and maybe win and win well, you know, with the way the game is structured now, with two pointers and you know the solo and go and the three up, and especially in Croke Park now, Sean, at the weekend with wide open spaces, you've got top quality forwards. The midfield battle with long kickouts going outside the 40-meter arc that are up for grabs. I think form goes out the window a little bit because it's just really is a blank canvas. And look, from our point of view, Kerry haven't been going great. But you'd like to think that getting into Croke Park with these new rules and the players we still have available to us, that we can really, really go after Armagh, and I hope we do, and cause an upset. But every team will be thinking like that, Sean. Every team will be thinking like that going in, and that's the beauty of the championship. It's superb, and it's you know it's been brilliant to sit down and watch because I think what was happening in the last 5, 6, 7 years, because it had gone so stagnant, it had gone so robotic and lethargic, the games, people weren't watching anymore. And I'm not even talking about going to the games, I'm talking about the armchair supporter. And I'll give you an example, and I know he won't mind me reading this out. I'd still be very good friends with Eamon Fitzmaurice. We played together, and obviously he was part of the FRC who came up with these new rules. and it was the Sunday that Monaghan played Down. What a game!
Yeah.
What an absolute belter of a game! And I wrote him this message. I said, "Hi, Eamon. The biggest compliment I can give the new rules is I'm watching Monaghan and Down. And if these two played each other last year, we'd be lucky if it was 5-4. And this was at half time. I sent the message, and it was 115 to 114.
Yeah.
And he replied back saying, "A cracker of a game, Sean. Great to see." And I think that just sums up the championship, Sean, and that sums up the new rules and what it's done for the game. What about yourself? What do you think?
Yeah, I'm on board with that. The same as that Monaghan and Down. I think I've heard a couple of people picking that out that if they
Mm,
played last year, your Ulster diehards obviously would watch it and you might stick it on if there was nothing else on the telly. But now you're so invested, and even down in Galway there last week as well was
brilliant,
just exceptional.
brilliant.
And
Yeah,
there's been so many classics, like just so many good games that's what makes it so exciting. You know, the likes of Down, Monaghan, teams like that. That well, Monaghan are always sort of punching above their weight, but everybody's got a chance. You just always feel that the two pointers and the news, just everybody has a chance. There's never going to be a runaway favorite. It just feels like that. And the four games are, you said that already, Sean. That's how it's going to be this weekend. That last year you'd picked your four winners and you'd have probably been near enough calling it, but this week it's impossible to call. And Armagh and Kerry, it's we're talking about all four games here, but it's obviously the big one. There's so much riding on it.
yeah, absolutely, absolutely. And I mean, you just go back 12 months again, Sean, to the game that we were involved with, the All Ireland quarter final against Derry. Oh my God,
Yeah,
I didn't get to go to the game that weekend, but I remember watching it in the local with a load of friends. People wanted to turn it off after about 15 minutes. It was
yeah,
just absolutely dire stuff. And I think that game has been the one game that everyone refers back to as to, right, we've had enough of this. This has to change. Even the diehards that you're talking about there, people who love the game, even they would have to have admitted after watching that something has to be done here. And thankfully it was done. Before we move on to the games of the weekend, Down, Sean, I know they're your neighbours up there. Maybe you don't always get on very well with them. But anyway, um, keep an eye on them. Keep an eye on
yeah,
them. They are a super, super coming team. You can see Conor Lafferty's handprints all over them. You can see that he's brought through those crop of under 20 players that he had for 3 years. And they had just some absolutely outstanding performers. Without going into the too much detail, Murdoch is one of the best footballers I've seen come out of Down, Ulster, the whole of the country in the last 2 or 3 years.
oh,
What
he's
a performer.
phenomenal.
Yeah, what a performer. Right now, if you were naming your team of the year, he'd be on it for me. He was absolutely superb. And they've got superstars all over that team. So they're definitely a coming team, not only in Ulster, but in the All Ireland. And if Connor is left alone and left do the job, Down won't be far away. The new rules suit them down to the ground.
Yeah,
And with a stroke of luck, even though Galway did probably show that little bit of extra class at times, with a little bit of luck, Down could have certainly been a lot closer than they were. Now, I know they got a goal late on to bring Galway back in a little bit, but
yeah.
Conor Lafferty referred to the second half where they had a lot of momentum with the breeze, playing in Newry, the home crowd. Um, I'm telling you, they're a team to watch anyway. But yeah, I just thought I'd mention that while we were chatting about Down there. Yeah,
And they're just another team in Ulster next year. Like Ulster's such a
yeah,
graveyard, the Ulster Championship, and they're just another top class team that's sort of been added to it now. And you'd imagine they're going to push on in
absolutely.
Ulster next year.
Yeah,
But yeah, this weekend, Sean, Armagh and Kerry, like it's so exciting. We've said how exciting it is and everything else. Like I suppose coming into it from a Kerry perspective, you'd mentioned last year, Kerry were the favourites and probably the better team for whatever 50 minutes or whatever before Barry McCame's goal.
mm,
I remember sitting in Croke Park thinking, Armagh's gonna lose here, and it's because Kerry just have been better. There was going to be no complaints, but Armagh obviously flipped that and ended up winning. But I'm sure there's hurt there in that Kerry changing room, Sean. That they're going to be carrying into Croke Park this weekend.
There is, yeah. I think there's a lot more going on in the Kerry dressing room than hurt at the moment, Sean. They've a lot more to worry about than that. But certainly, of course, they will be using that as, as motivation as to, they got turned over by Armagh last year in a game that I agree 100% with you. They were in control of without being spectacular. I remember being up there myself with a friend, and we were 5 points up. And I remember turning to him and saying, if we tag on another couple of points here in the next few minutes, or even a goal, which we could have got, we butchered a few goal chances. I said we could be out the gate here, and looking forward to an All Ireland final, and it's amazing, Sean. It's amazing how momentum changes. Shane Ryan with a little uncharacteristic mistake. Barry McCambridge on his toes, brilliant finish, and you could just feel it. You could just feel the momentum shifting, the crowd, the Armagh crowd starting to believe. There was Armagh supporters around me. They had been very quiet all day. All of a sudden, they were off their seat. They were getting involved in it, and it swung. And Armagh really, really thrived on that, and got it. Obviously, the game went to extra time. And to be honest with you, looking out onto the field that day, there was only going to be one winner in extra time, Sean. The Kerry players just didn't seem to have the energy that was coming from the stands, and it was bubbling through the Armagh team. So they deservedly went on to win the game and to win the All Ireland. So of course the Kerry lads are going to have that in their hurt locker, I suppose we'll call it. But look, we've a lot more to worry about than that. Obviously, we've a lot of injuries. Our form has been poor. So yeah, they will carry the hurt, but they have to get a lot of other things right as well if they want to, in my opinion, upset the odds and beat this Armagh team, who are clear favourites not only for Sunday but for the All Ireland for me. Just in preparation before coming on, Sean, when you told me to come on, I just did look back at two things. I watched the game back last year, and I just pulled up both squads, and I said, right, what's the difference here? Where are we nearly 12 months on? And for me, the biggest one was the squad depth. I think Armagh have improved from last year. I think they've improved their squad. I think McGeaney, he focused in the league, certainly getting new guys on the panel, or even not even new guys who might have been on the panel but weren't seeing a lot of game time last year. He's been able to introduce them during the league, and he has really, really built a strong panel with huge impact off the bench. Kerry haven't done that. Yes, they still have a very, very good 15, and a 15 that can match Armagh, but it's from 15 to 20, 21, 22, where for me, Armagh have done a lot of work and they have strengthened, and Kerry haven't. So I think even the next day, if Kerry can go toe-to-toe with Armagh and be alive coming down the stretch, have they the impact off the bench to live with them? I'm not so sure. But anyway, look, there's a lot of football to be played before that happens. So, but certainly, I think Armagh are going into this game a lot stronger in terms of their panel than Kerry are.
I know you talking to the offer again, Sean. We were talking about the Kerry injuries and Dermot O'Connor, who was unbelievable the night they played in Tralee in the league. He was brilliant that night. That was the first night he got injured, wasn't it? He got injured
Uh, was,
just later
was
on in that game.
did he come off against Armagh in that game late on with his
I think
shoulder?
so.
I believe so. Yeah, I think that was
Yeah.
that was the start of his trouble, really. Yeah, but he was outstanding. And this is the thing, Sean. Kerry won the league probably from a position where we thought, geez, we'll be doing well. We'll be happy enough to consolidate our position because we had a very bad start. But as the league went on, the performances got better, and fellas obviously got fitter, and their form came to the fore. And we started building. I suppose we had a kind of a decent panel, and the form was good, but ever since the league and we've got into the Munster Championship and into the group stages, the injuries have hit and hit hard. Now, all teams have injuries, Sean. I know, is there talks that Soupy Campbell is hurt up your neck of the woods there. So we all have to deal with injuries. And in the condensed season, it's even harder because you don't have the time to recover. But even with the injuries, Sean, it's just what I worry about is our form and our body language ever since the Munster Championship and the group stages. It's just not there. We're not playing with that little bit of verve and that little bit of Kerry confidence. Now, I did see patches of it back against Cavan, and I know you can say, look, Cavan, not a great team. Your other neighbours, Tyrone, put 31 points up on them. Fair enough. But we were just looking for little signs last Saturday in Killarney that, is that little bit of magic, is that Kerry flair still there? And we did see it in patches. So that's a positive that we have to cling to going into Sunday, that when we play well and we play it right and we play our way, we are still a match for anybody. It's can we do it going to another level on Sunday? But certainly the league, we won the league kind of by accident as such. And maybe we got a little bit carried away down here that the new rules are suiting us. We're getting a strong panel. The form is good. But unfortunately, it just hasn't gone that way since. But look, we're still there, as I said at the start of the call. We're still there, and we have a chance.
And obviously, you'd mentioned that Cavan game, Sean. Obviously, David Clifford posted 3-7 there. So I think, like we know, there's enough said about David Clifford over the last couple of years. When he's there, Kerry's always going to have a fighting chance. And I suppose for Armagh, I know Barry McCambridge got a lot of plaudits last year. He marked Clifford. There's obviously going to be more space this time around. Clifford took him for 10 points, I think, in the league game. Now that's including frees, of course. So if Cambridge is marking him, or if it's going to be Paddy Burns or whoever, like you'd imagine the more space that David Clifford will have in Croke Park, it's obvious thing to say. It's going to be tougher to tie him down.
Yeah, so the first part of that, I would agree with you. I think it will be McCambridge. I know Burns is a good operator, but I just think McGeaney will feel that McCambridge has that experience of marking not only David, but marking mostly the big game opposition. So when Armagh play a big team, McCambridge is nearly always assigned their top guy, or their most dangerous inside forward. So I couldn't see McGeaney giving Burns that task. Now, look, if McCambridge is on David early on and David is going to town, then maybe it's a change they'll have to make. Yeah, of course. Look, Sean, I don't know. You obviously played club football, or maybe you still are. I'd hate to be a defender these days. I really would, especially one of those inside defenders. It's just absolutely insane the amount of space. It's particularly if your team are attacking and it's turned over and the opposition move it really, really quick. And that's what Kerry did to Cavan. And that's what I was saying earlier to you about seeing little glimpses of Kerry when they can be really, really good. They worked extremely hard on defending in numbers against Cavan, which they weren't doing against Meath the previous week, and moving the ball fast, particularly through the foot. And Croke Park is built for that. Croke Park is built for two things, Sean. Good kickers and pace. And when Kerry can do that together, we have a chance, because if we can get the ball into David, of course, look, David is taking all the limelight because he's scoring all these scores. I don't know what did you say he got the last day? 3-7 or 3-8, was it?
You get 3-7.
3-7. And it should have probably been 6-7, to be quite honest with you, Sean. At least 5-7 anyway, because he missed 2 goal chances that he would usually put away in his sleep, So of course he's getting the headlines. But look, there's other players that have to get the ball into him. Okay, so that takes a lot of work. It takes being in the right position, delivering quality ball. But what we're looking for the next day is, look, more than likely David isn't going to get the opportunity to kick 3-7 against Armagh. It just won't happen. They're just going to be a lot tighter. They'll have their homework done. Can other players chip in? Can we get the other players chipping in? Can we get the likes of Shawnee Shea, who's, again, just not quite at the pitch of things yet? Hopefully Paddy Clifford will be back in. There's talks Paul Ganey might be back in. Does that leave one of the other Gainies to partner David inside as well, whether it be Dylan or Connor, all very good scorers on their day? Can we get scores from midfield? And can we get scores from the half-back line, which Armagh are doing at will, from Jarly Og and McMullen? Is it McMullen on the other wing?
Ross McQuillan.
McQuillan. Like they're showing, when these new rules came out first, Sean, I looked at them and I said, your half-back line is such an important line. It's such an important line, because those guys, you put your footballers on that line, because they are the guys that are going to be coming in on the end of attacks. They're going to be the guys coming to the top of that arc And if you have real good footballers with good brains, good skills, good kickers, particularly from long range, they're going to get scores for you. Armagh are doing it. Kerry aren't. Like Gavin White, Brino Begliac, Tom Sullivan, they're all guys that should be flourishing under these new rules. We're just not quite getting it from the lads. Now, maybe we'll get it the next day, but we are going to need it, because if we go in, hopefully, depending on David to shoot the lights out, we're going to be up against it. David could shoot the lights out, Sean, but I just think against Armagh, it wouldn't be enough. It wouldn't be enough. We're going to need scores from elsewhere. So it's going to have to be an all-round team performance if we're going to get over the line.
I think Armagh's scoring threats, Sean, like you mentioned, Charlie Oban, Ross McQuillan. I think McQuillan is possibly Armagh's second or third top scorer this year from wing back. You have Ethan Rafferty coming there. You have, the forward line of Rian O'Neill, Andrew Murnan, Connor Turbot. You mentioned McMullen kicked a 2-pointer against Galway, Rory Grugan, Oisin Connolly, who I haven't even mentioned yet. Like there's a lot of scoring threats for Armagh there. Like, and maybe only everybody's chipping in a point or two, but it all adds up. There's going to be 10, 11 Armagh scorers usually.
Yeah, there is, and that's going back to my point. I think Armagh and McGeeney have built an overall rounder panel. Sean, there's more threats, and again coming in off your bench as well at vital times. So absolutely, like Jack O'Connor is probably having sleepless nights this week about the matchups. Who's he going to put on Rian O'Neill? Who's he going to put on Grugan? And for me, footballer of the year, if you had to give it right now, Oisin Connolly. What a player. What a player. I mean, he got young footballer of the year last year. Kind of a bolter out of the blue, really, for the rest of us. I'm sure he knew all about him. He came from a soccer background, did he? He was playing soccer for a while. He's poured it down, isn't he?
Poured it down.
Yeah. So obviously he came into this season then, Sean, as you can imagine, young footballer of the year, an X on his back. This guy is a danger, man. And what's he done? He's actually got better. He's got better. He's flourishing even more under the new rules. His pace is unbelievable. So Jack is probably scratching his head. Who am I going to put on him? So I think Kerry have more headaches in those departments than Armagh have. And listen, that's not to say McGeeney won't be worrying about Shawnee Shea or the Gainies or Paddy Clifford if he starts. Of course he will, but you shut David Clifford down and you do put Kerry under pressure. There's no doubt about it. My call to the rest of the Kerry players is, can ye deliver? Can ye deliver when David is having a tough day? We hope David doesn't have a tough day the next day, but can everyone else chip in? I'm sure they can, and I'm sure they will. Will it be enough to beat Armagh? We don't know, but it will give you a chance.
That's the golden question I was going to leave you with, Sean. Who do you see coming out on top here? As you said, I haven't checked the bookies odds. I think Armagh are the favourites. But Kerry in Croke Park can't be taken lightly. I know from an Armagh point of view, there's a lot of Armagh people worried about this game too. You can't write off Kerry certainly coming into Croke Park. So it's going to go down to the wire. It's going to be such an exciting game. I hope, no matter who wins it, I think it's going to be an extraordinary game. But who do you see coming out on top of it? Who's going to get into the semi-final?
Yeah, I think it's going to be a lot closer than people think. I know, it seems to be all doom and gloom down here at the moment, Sean, with our form and the injuries, and I suppose you match that into, the way Armagh are coming into the game in such brilliant form, and the panel they've built and the fantastic players we've just named. However, there has to be a kick in Kerry. There just has to be. And if there's ever going to be a kick in them, it's going to be Sunday, because, as you said, it's now or never. You lose, you're out. So I definitely think, as Kerry people going up on Sunday, I think we're going to get a real good performance from our lads. The word is that there's going to be a good Kerry contingent, which is great to hear. As I was saying off air, I went to book my train this morning, and they were all sold out. I eventually had to get one from Mallow. I never like going to Cork, but anyway, I'll go this time. So there is a mighty crowd going up from Kerry, which is great. I think it will be close, Sean. I just think overall, and my point on that Armagh subs bench, I think it might just be enough for them. But on the same hand, I just think there's a real kick in our fellas, and I'm going to go for a Kerry win, purely because they have to go for it. They have to go for it. And on our day, we do have the players, the first 15 to match it. I'm just hoping that maybe our impact off the bench might surprise us, and maybe Kerry by a couple of points. Just
Yeah, it's gonna. I think it's whatever happens, Sean. It's a couple of points either way, isn't it? Like
yeah,
it's 2 or
absolutely,
3 points
absolutely,
either
yeah,
way. So,
yeah,
no, we look forward to what should be a tremendous game. We're certainly giving it a good build up. I hope it lives up to our expectations anyway. But no, brilliant stuff, Sean. Thanks very much for coming on. That's all we've time for. We'll hopefully be back during the weekend. Obviously, we'll be building up to this game with previews and articles and match reports and everything else. So make sure to follow us on all our social media pages, the Sideline Eye on Twitter, Instagram, on Facebook, and follow our YouTube on Spotify channels or wherever you get your podcasts. So Sean, great to hear from you. Thanks very much for coming on. I'll chat to you again.
Thanks for having me, Sean, and all the best the weekend.
As a player on the Armagh GAA senior football team, I'm excited to share that you could win this house in Newry or £200,000 for only £20, and you'll be supporting the future of Armagh GAA in the process.